Yeah, as everybody knows, we had our media call just a couple of days ago in advance of the draft, and we sort of talked about being flexible, and that's exactly what it came down to in this draft in terms of watching it unfold and working through a number of scenarios. And we wanted to make sure that we could take the best player available. We did not want to have ourselves in a situation that we were focused on position, and that's exactly what came to fruition.
Perfect. We'll get started with questions from Jace Frederick. Jace, go ahead.
Hey, Cheryl, I know you guys do a number of different mocks and seeing who could fall to you. Did you, in any of those, see the board playing out the way it did tonight?
No.
So, I guess surprised in a good way?
Very. I'm not in everyone else's draft rooms, and there's a lot of conversation that happens, along the way, and certainly the last few days, and you're trying to get an idea, but at the end of the day, you don't really know what people are going to do. And so we did not have a mock scenario that had Rennia Davis there at 9. We just simply did not. So we missed that one. But in terms of as it was moving along, it was getting closer and closer to us. And the good news for us is 2 of our top players were still there at 9 in terms of our overall ranking of the top 10 in this draft. The 2 of the top players were there, and Rennia was one of them, and Rennia being the highest that we had. So I don't want to be that GM that says that's who we targeted, etc. We didn't target Rennia because we didn't think she would be there. But we allowed ourselves the flexibility that when the opportunity presented itself, we were able to move in that direction, and we're excited about it.
Where was Rennia on your board?
Number 2. We thought she was the number 2 best player in the draft.
All right, we'll go to Andrew Kramer and then Cody. Andrew, go ahead.
Hey, Cheryl, you had said yesterday about if whoever the pick was, they would need to step off the plane and do one thing for you right away. With how highly you're talking up Rennia, is it more than one thing she can kind of give you right out of the gate?
Yeah, I think so. This league is hard. That's the first thing I told her. These players have no idea what they're getting into and the challenges that they're going to be faced with, how good these players are they're going to play against. What a big time challenge it is to transition. They were drafted today. By Sunday, Rennia will be in market, going through quarantining, et cetera. By a week from Sunday, she's in a completely new environment. So it's hard. And, we're going to try to keep things simple for her. She was funny because, we didn't have a chance to interview Rennia because, again, we didn't necessarily see that. She's like, "Hey, coach, you're one of the few coaches I talked to. What position am I going to play?" And so she's one of those players that, can play more than one position. And that was something, we were asked by Howard Megdal on a media call, a word, for a player that we'd be looking for to describe them, and versatility was the word. And we got exactly that. She can play the 4, she can play the 3. Both positions are challenging in our league. That's the strength of our league. I think if Rennia comes in with the mindset of keeping it simple and do the things that she's good at, she can score the ball. She rebounds, as a 3, she rebounds pretty well. As a 4, probably has to rebound a little bit better. She can take players off the bounce when she's a 4 and maybe has a mismatch out there. She can switch in ball screen. She's got great length. And, everybody knows that the rebounding, is the way to develop trust and an opportunity, for her to be on the floor. And I have to learn more about her. It's the same. You learn about these prospects when you get them into camp. But I think right off the bat, the nice thing for Rennia is she gets to be herself. And, there's certainly great competition for her in terms of, being able to get minutes because, as everybody knows, our roster is pretty good prior to the draft. But I think we have ourselves somebody that's going to allow us to move some players around. And I think she should have a chance to see the floor a little bit.
All right, we'll go to Cody and then Jim Rich. Cody, go ahead.
You talked about the versatility a lot in the previous question, but how important is it going to be to have that versatility, especially on the defensive end that can guard 2 through 4?
Yeah, that's what I like a lot. Her length, she's legit 6'2", lengthy. I think she prides herself in that. Tennessee, I thought was a really good defensive team. They were all so big and long, hard to play against. She rebounds. I think that versatility, in matchups, that's what we're all looking for, especially when you're talking about an 11-player roster. You've got to have that. Talk to Bridget Carlton about being able to play the 2 this year. Rachel's a 1-2. Each player, when you can play more than one position, it's just great value to your roster.
Jim Rich, go ahead.
Coach, when you looked at what you were doing here and you said you didn't get a chance to talk to her, yet you're all about chemistry and how somebody's going to interact with their players. What do you know about her personality? I mean, it looked pretty entertaining on the call when she got picked.
Yeah, we knew a lot about her. I don't mean to say that we didn't know anything about her. We didn't make the connection personally, but we knew her agent. We had conversations peripherally around Rennia. We always do that because you don't know, a few months ago, you don't know what's going to happen. I was at the SEC tournament. I watched her family in the stands. Like I feel like I know her, but I think what you saw, that enthusiasm, that energy, that was a lot of fun to watch, her excitement. And, there were, I think for her, she probably heard that she was going to go higher, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 at the lowest. And so I think it says a lot about her, how she handled being picked at 9, that was incredibly excited and thankful, and knows that, it happened for a reason. And there were some other players that were a little more disappointed and showed their disappointment. So I felt really good about how Rennia responded in that situation. So I think it says a lot about her.
All righty, we'll go to Leo and then Jeff Williams. Leo, go ahead.
Hey, Coach Reeve. So I saw a comparison to last year when y'all were able to draft Kiki, who's also a 6'2", power forward. And so prior to letting her go, you have mentioned due to a clutter in that position. Now we bring in Rennia, who's also a 6'2" power forward, or can play the power forward. So how does she factor in going into this season, given that she plays the same position that Kiki would have been playing this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. We basically replaced Kiki, and that was something that we said, if we were to take a forward, then we wanted to make sure that we had a different skill set than what we have in Fee, Achanwa, Demiris, Sill. We wanted to be different than those 4 if we were to take a forward. Jess Shepard. And so I think she gave us that. And so that's why it was appealing to us. We saw an opportunity with Kiki. We didn't seek out to trade Kiki. We were approached and we were offered an asset that we don't get offered very often for reserve players. And that was a 1st-round pick. And then if you look at an 11-player roster, it would have been challenging for Kiki. If we would have gone into this draft and Kiki was on the roster, it would have been challenging. And so we thought the time was right, to cash in terms of an asset. We think Kiki's a good player. But I think for Rennia, her ability, I think she's a little more equipped ball handling wise. If I were to make comparisons between the 2, things that we like, she's a much better rebounder. Again, I like Kiki a lot, but why it made sense for us, because that question did come up for us. That we go, okay, that's, position of strength on our team is certainly 3, 4, 5. And that's why I have, shared with Bridget, being able to play the 2 is going to be really valuable for our team. Aerial Powers, McBride, interchangeable 2, 3. We just have a great deal of versatility, and, we'll see how it plays out. But I do feel like we could legitimately play Rennia at the small forward spot, whereas Kiki was going to take some time to grow into that. I feel like Rennia is a little more ready, ball handling wise, and just being able to make plays off the bounce. So it wasn't a case that we were seeking to replace the position. It just fell that way. And we wanted to make sure that we were opportunistic about the draft, and we did not want to get locked into position.
All righty, we'll go Jeff Williams and then Lucas. Jeff, go ahead.
Hey, Cheryl. 2 years ago, you drafted Nafisha Collier, Rookie of the Year. Last year, Crystal Dangerfield, Rookie of the Year. And here, you said that you believe that she's the 2nd best player in the draft, and yet she falls to you at 9, Do we have another Rookie of the Year candidate on our hands?
No, I didn't think we had a Rookie of the Year candidate in either of the last 2 years. It just fell that way. Honestly, I want to say I hope not, because then that means that something happened to someone in front of her, just like it did for Fee when Karima Christmas Kelly went down, just like it did for Crystal as we lost guards to injuries in the bubble. I want her to have a great season. Don't get me wrong. But I'd prefer that you guys not continue with that hype. I need this rookie to come in here and focus on helping us off the bench. She's not going to be Rookie of the Year. That's got to be her mindset.
Alrighty, we'll go Lucas and then Eric. Lucas, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Yesterday on the media call, you said that you were, when you were talking to prospects about not necessarily being able to come in and contribute right away and not, being okay with that, but understanding that that's just reality. But then tonight you go out and you get the number 2 player on your board. Is that still something that you're considering moving into the season? And did you have any conversations around trading the pick, and did it ever get to the point where you were close to pulling the trigger on a trade?
Yeah, and the last part you forgot was a pick for the future. This is a player that has to have it. They have to see it as a process. Every prospect that I had a chance to share this with, I said, whether you're coming to our team or any other team coming into the league right now, you have to see it as a process. It's not about, that you're going to come from college and do the things you did for your college. You're just not. This league is too darn good. As far as the trade, yeah, we had a trade set that, I felt like before the draft started, when we spoke to the team, we had a couple days where we said, okay, we want to do this. And then we would touch base on draft day. So when we touched base, we learned that it was likely the trade wouldn't go down because we thought there was a strong possibility that either their player would be there or our player would be there that would cancel the deal. And so it wasn't highly likely when the draft started, and then it ended pretty quickly. Their player was gone, and then we just got to a place where we were sure we weren't going to do that. So that was the only thing we had going. It was interesting. This draft, didn't make a lot of sense to move up. A great GM in this league, Mike Tebow, told me long ago that a lot of times you spend all this time trying to move up, and it works out a lot of the times that you end up getting that player anyway, right where you were. And so really kind of interesting, even though you like a Rennia Davis and you inquire about getting higher, if you think she's a fit. So for us, it turned out that we needed to be right where we were. And we were in a good spot to be opportunistic. There were some good guards on the board. Not an easy decision because we liked a couple of those guards. There were some surprises for sure. We had some players that fell to the second round that we just didn't see happening. I think our most of our GMs would tell you that. So really interesting draft, and a lot of parity in this draft, if you will, that who you got in the second round could be just as good as who you got in the first round. So it was really a very subjective draft. We're happy with how it turned out, and now we got to get to work. We got a lot of work to do to bring our rookie along. And I told her to go have fun with her family. And if you're on her Instagram, you'll see that she's doing that. We're excited how it turned out, but these things take time to see how it really pans out. I know the excitement around the draft and who, give everybody grades and do all that you guys like to do. These things take time in terms of how it pans out for everybody.
Alrighty, we'll go to Jean next. Jean, go ahead. Dean Fournette, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, Dean.
Hi. You said earlier that you liked how the way Rennia handled, obviously there was an expectation that she was going to be a top 5 pick. What kind of vibe did she give you that indicated that she did handle it well?
Well, if you watch the broadcast, the reaction when she was picked, she was pretty hyped. Her family was hyped. Again, in comparison to maybe some other prospects that were a little more disappointed, compare the reactions and you'll see what I mean. And then certainly when I spoke to her, there was a very, very genuine appreciation, a little bit like Crystal. Crystal understood. I mean, would she have liked to go on higher last year? Yeah, sure. You have 2 different ways you can handle it. And I like where where Rennia is or seems to be. And we tell players all the time, it's not what number you go, it's where you go. And we're hopeful that this is a really good spot for Rennia.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, we'll go Will Backus and then Cody. Will, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for talking with us. You mentioned that Rennia, you're not necessarily expecting her to make a huge early impact and that she's going to have to spend some time coming off the bench. How does that benefit a young player being able to grow, in the depth chart and kind of being down there so she can grow and not have immediate expectations on her?
Well, I think with this particular roster, the veterans that we have, players that understand our team, our culture, the way we like to do things. When you have an Natalia Chandler, Sylvia Fowles, or Nafisa Collier, Damiris Dantas, who've been in the league for a long time, and you have Rebecca Brunson and Plynette Pearson as your post coaches. Katie when she plays on the perimeter. There's just I think for a young player, it's one of the best things that can happen, because she is going to go through ups and downs, and they're going to have vets. She's going to have vets right there to be able to help her, navigate things a little more quickly, versus when you don't have that, when you don't have the experience and you've got a younger team and nobody knows which really way to go, not on this team. And so she'll be able to get really, really good guidance and get information very, very quickly to help her advance and focus on, the next day. We always say with young guns, you got to take it one day at a time. If you had a good day, celebrate the hell out of it, move on to the next day, because it's not going to be the same. So just having that balance in your mindset, and we'll get to know Rennia, but I feel like she's everything that we've heard about her, she's going to work really hard. And at the core of who she is, she's got a really good soul. And those are two things that we put a premium on, and we'll see how it works out for her.
Cody, go ahead.
You signed Ashika Alexander to a training camp contract. As a GM, how important is it to invest in HBCUs?
Cody, I appreciate that question. Really important. We want to make sure that, we had one draft pick, that we're really excited about, Rennia Davis, but we are really and truly excited about the addition of Ashika Alexander. We think it's important that, that our league, gets more involved in amplifying HBCU players in terms of opportunity, because we know that's what this life is about. And Elaine Powell is the coach at Langston, and I had a chance to coach EP back in our Detroit days. And we were pretty darn close then in our coach-player relationship, and, have stayed in touch through the years. And I told our group that I wanted to make sure that an HBCU player was a part of our team this year. And we would have taken multiple. There was another player that was a really good rebounder that we had an invite out to, but she ended up returning to school. So opportunity, HBCU schools don't get enough recognition. And so, we've really felt like we wanted to give an opportunity to Ashika, who we think is a really good basketball player. So we're excited for her to be in camp, and she'll be arriving Sunday. And I think she's pretty darn excited. And I think more of us should be doing this.
Great. We'll go 2 more questions. We'll go Maria and then end with Jace. Maria, go ahead.
Coach, at what point as you watched the draft unfold, did you realize that Rennia Davis could be available at 9? And you said that you considered some other players, some guard needs too. What tipped your choice in favor of Rennia?
Well, and this is the process, and I've got people in the room that remind me of my process that I've set, because sometimes it gets hard. So you go into the room. We had just the one pick, so we had our top 10, and we have our rankings, and we have worked those through, and we changed people around. By the time we left last night, we had our ranking locked in, and we go through the drill, and we say in making our top 10 that when you get to this player, that means if Rennia Davis is still on the board when we pick at 9, she's the highest one, ranking 1 left, you're taking her. And so that's how we formulate our top 10. And so all you're doing on draft day when you're selecting is to see who's the highest remaining player that you have. And so, it was probably, so New York picked 6. and we had an idea that Onyenwere was probably going to be in that range. That wasn't surprising to us. We had 3 players that once we got past the 6th pick and then the 7th pick was made, we said we're going to get one of our 2 top players, and so again, you don't have conversations. You're not changing at that point. You have just 4 minutes in between picks. You don't start a debate, even though I tried at times. I get the reminders. Nope. That's the highest player remaining. My assistant coaches were thrilled, and their excitement told me a lot about the process that we went through. And we were fortunate. I think a lot of teams will say that, go in all the Zooms around the league, and everyone's excited tonight. The player that they wanted is there, et cetera. It wasn't necessarily the case for us. It wasn't a target. It was just simply, let's just execute a draft plan. We had no idea when we came in this morning, who we were going to be drafting, because there were 8 teams ahead of us. And so you just sit and wait and see what develops. And, there were a couple of picks that we did not have in our mocks that, allowed it to turn out the way that it did.
All righty, we'll end with Jace. Jace, go ahead.
Hey, Cheryl, I wanted to get to this yesterday and we kind of ran out of time, but I know how much Glenn Taylor has meant to this organization. So I was wondering what your reaction was to, and I know he'll still be around for these next couple of years, but I was wondering what your reaction was to the ownership news and maybe what initial conversations have been like with that group.
Yeah, really happy for Glenn. Glenn is kind enough to share updates periodically. Over the last, I don't know how many months it's been, and just at times, talking about the different perspective owners, what he thinks about them. So I know it was important to Glenn to be able to do this, and for him to be able to to have partners now in this ownership that allow him to continue to be a part of it and mentor. Glenn has a real passion for mentoring. I've had a chance to experience that, and so I think he's tickled, quite frankly, to have Mark and Alex, as limited partners. And our meeting with Mark and Alex. So we were in the draft room on Monday when they came through. So we invited them in there to get a chance to meet our group, and so we had some fun for a little over a half hour, just kind of talking about what we were doing, and a little bit about the Lynx, and just exchanged ideas. We talked about Mark's entrepreneurship and the ways that he elevates women. We talked about some of the challenges for women in entrepreneurship, and he shared those things in ways that he wanted to support. And what we learned is that there's common themes in the ways in which women are marginalized, whether it's in sports or in business. So that was a really cool connection. We talked to Alex about selection of players. We shared with them what our processes were. He talked a little bit about Major League Baseball players and some of the challenges, and very, very similar, and the importance of selecting really good people. And I think that Alex was probably that. I don't know a lot about him as a teammate, et cetera, but that he really had an understanding of what we were going through and the importance of what we were doing. So we did a little bit of educating on the Lynx. I can't tell you that they knew a lot about it, but I can tell you when they walked out of there, they knew a hell of a lot more. I think they were impressed.
Great. Thank you so much, Coach. We appreciate all of you guys joining our post-draft media call today, and congratulations on a great draft today.
Thanks. See you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Appreciate it.